In the world of global aviation, silence on the tarmac can be the loudest alarm. The absence of roaring engines and bustling ground crews signals a crisis that reverberates far beyond the airport fences. Across the US, brand new Boeing jets sit grounded, not from technical failure, but as casualties in an escalating economic standoff between China and the United States. These aircraft, once destined to connect continents, now gather dust, their wings clipped by forces far removed from engineering or weather. This is more than a trade dispute. It's a high-stakes power play involving billions of dollars, millions of jobs, and the future of global commerce. The ripple effects touch every corner of the world, from bustling stock exchanges to remote manufacturing towns. For years, China's insatiable demand fueled Boeing's growth, connecting its rapidly expanding cities to the world and making the skies a bridge between East and West. The partnership was a symbol of globalization's promise. Now that partnership is fractured. Diplomatic tensions have replaced handshakes, and uncertainty clouds what was once a clear flight path. The halt in aircraft deliveries is a new weapon in a conflict that's moved far beyond tariffs, targeting a critical artery of American industry. Each undelivered jet represents not just lost revenue, but a blow to confidence in the global supply chain. The consequences ripple outward. Airlines are forced to rethink strategies, supply chains are disrupted, and workers face mounting uncertainty about their futures. The impact is felt from boardrooms to break rooms and from bustling airports to quiet small towns. This is a story of how fragile the web of global commerce can be when its threads are deliberately cut. The intricate connections that once seemed unbreakable are now exposed as vulnerable, and the world watches as the fabric of trade unravels. The grounded planes are a stark reminder of the high-stakes geopolitical game playing out in the skies. Each silent jet is a symbol of ambitions paused and futures put on hold. The immediate financial losses are staggering, but the long-term strategic cost could reshape the industry for decades. Investors, governments, and workers alike are left to wonder what the new landscape will look like. We'll explore the origins, impact, and uncertainty of this conflict, and what it means for the future of global industry. The story is still unfolding, and its outcome remains uncertain. The silent war has begun, and its outcome will define the next chapter of international relations. The balance of power, the flow of goods, and the fate of industries all hang in the balance. The world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher. As the drama unfolds, every grounded plane tells a story of ambition, rivalry, and the uncertain future of flight. This crisis is the latest escalation in a trade war that's been simmering for years, quietly shaping the global economy beneath the surface. What once seemed like isolated disputes have now grown into a full-blown confrontation, affecting businesses and consumers around the world. What began with tariffs on steel and solar panels has become a battle for technological supremacy and global influence. The initial focus on raw materials quickly expanded, drawing in high-tech industries and strategic sectors that are vital to national security and future growth. The US cites intellectual property theft and trade imbalances as reasons for its tough stance. China retaliates, ensnaring entire industries in a tit-for-tat cycle. Each side accuses the other of unfair practices, deepening mistrust and making compromise increasingly difficult. Now, sectors like 5G, artificial intelligence, and aviation are battlegrounds in a struggle for dominance. These technologies are not just about commerce, they're about who will set the standards and control the future of innovation. Boeing, once a bridge between nations and a symbol of cooperation, is now a pawn in a high-stakes geopolitical chess match. Its fate is tied to the broader contest for influence and leadership on the world stage. China's Made in China 2025 initiative aims to reduce reliance on Western technology and foster homegrown champions, while the US increasingly sees Boeing as a strategic export and a pillar of its own economic security. The trust that underpinned decades of engagement has eroded, replaced by suspicion and rivalry. Boardrooms that once celebrated partnership now echo with uncertainty as old alliances dissolve and new lines are drawn. Globalization is giving way to fragmentation as nations prioritize resilience over efficiency. Supply chains are being reconfigured, and companies are forced to rethink where and how they do business in a world that feels less predictable. The Boeing standoff is a clear sign. Critical industries are now proxy battlegrounds in a larger power struggle. The consequences ripple outward, affecting jobs, investment, and the pace of technological progress. The rules of international trade and diplomacy are being rewritten in real time, as leaders grapple with new realities and old certainties fade away. Every negotiation, every summit now carries higher stakes and deeper divisions. The world is entering a new era, one where economic security trumps open markets, and where the pursuit of national interests is reshaping the very foundations of global commerce. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the age of easy globalization is over. China's suspension of new Boeing deliveries sent shockwaves through aviation. Framed as regulatory scrutiny, it's widely seen as direct retaliation in the trade war. China, one of Boeing's largest customers, has frozen a multi-billion-dollar revenue stream, leaving hundreds of planes stranded. For years, Boeing's growth depended on Chinese demand. Now, that future is on hold. China's move signals it's willing to absorb short-term pain to exert long-term pressure. The ambiguity of safety concerns gives China plausible deniability, complicating any resolution. The message is clear. Access to China's market is no longer guaranteed. For Boeing, the challenge is managing undelivered inventory and a cash flow crisis. For the world, it's a warning of how quickly commercial ties can become weapons. The silent tarmacs are now monuments to a new era of uncertainty. The delivery halt hit Boeing at its weakest moment. Even before this, Boeing was reeling from quality control failures and public scrutiny over its 737 MAX and 787 Dreamliner. Labor disputes and strikes had already disrupted production and strained finances. Now, with hundreds of planes undeliverable, Boeing's cash flow has slowed to a trickle. Suppliers go unpaid, R&D stalls, and operational costs mount. Boeing faces a perfect storm: internal flaws, labor unrest, and geopolitical hostility. Leadership is under immense pressure, with every misstep threatening the company's future. The crisis is existential, and the solutions are anything but simple. Boeing's crisis is rippling across the U.S. economy. As a top exporter and employer, Boeing anchors a supply chain supporting over 1.5 million American jobs. When Boeing falters, thousands of suppliers, big and small, face layoffs and financial strain. The domino effect threatens livelihoods in communities nationwide. The halt in deliveries also worsens America's trade deficit, as aerospace is a top export. The economic pain is immediate and widespread, from factory workers to small business owners. The crisis exposes the fragility of interconnected supply chains. A decision in Beijing can devastate a town in Ohio. The efficiency of global trade has become a conduit for geopolitical risk. America's prosperity is now tied to the stability of international relationships, now more uncertain than ever. The Boeing-China standoff is shaking airlines worldwide. Carriers with pending Boeing orders face delays, forcing them to keep older, less efficient planes in service. Airlines are rethinking fleet strategies, factoring in geopolitical risk for the first time. Some may shift orders to Airbus, but production limits mean not all needs can be met. Tariffs and trade barriers drive up costs, squeezing already thin margins. The uncertainty slows industry growth and complicates long-term planning. Buying an airplane is now a geopolitical decision, not just a commercial one. Airlines are caught in the crossfire, navigating a turbulent new reality. Boeing's crisis is a windfall for Airbus, but the story isn't so simple. While it might seem like Airbus stands to gain the most from Boeing's missteps, the reality is far more nuanced and complex. Airbus, already operating at full capacity, simply can't absorb all the new demand left in the wake of Boeing's troubles. Their factories are stretched to the limit, and ramping up production isn't something that can happen overnight. Chinese airlines are shifting orders to Airbus, eager to fill gaps in their fleets, but production bottlenecks persist. The backlog for new aircraft is growing, and airlines are left waiting longer than ever for deliveries. Meanwhile, China is accelerating its own aviation ambitions with COMAC's C919 jet, hoping to seize this moment to establish itself as a global player in commercial aviation. Yet COMAC still relies heavily on Western technology for critical components, making it vulnerable to the same geopolitical risks and supply chain disruptions that challenge its Western rivals. The global aviation supply chain is deeply interconnected. No player is immune. Every manufacturer, supplier, and airline is linked in a web that spans continents and political boundaries. The flight freeze destabilizes the market, sending shockwaves through the industry and causing uncertainty for investors, airlines, and manufacturers alike. There's no clear winner in this scenario. China aims to break the Boeing-Airbus duopoly and carve out its own space in the global market, but it faces significant technical, regulatory, and political hurdles along the way. The crisis exposes vulnerabilities on all sides, fueling a fluid and unpredictable power shift. Every player is forced to adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. The future of aviation is up for grabs, with new opportunities and risks emerging at every turn. The path forward is anything but clear, and the industry faces a period of profound uncertainty. The duopoly's dominance is under threat, but so is the industry's overall stability. As the balance of power shifts, the entire aviation world is left searching for answers and a new sense of direction. The Boeing-China standoff threatens the entire global aviation system. The industry's strength, international cooperation and integrated supply chains, is now a vulnerability. Political blocs may soon dictate manufacturing standards and trade relationships, fragmenting the market. Airlines could face incompatible regulations, driving up costs and complexity. Suppliers worldwide, from Japan to Germany, are already feeling the pain. The trust that built decades of progress is eroding, replaced by uncertainty. The risk: a shift from global cooperation to nationalistic competition, making air travel costlier and less accessible. The flight freeze is a warning. Globalization's foundation is cracking. The flight freeze marks a turning point in global relations. Boeing's crisis is a symptom of a deeper geopolitical rift, with consequences far beyond one company. China's Halt exposed Boeing's vulnerabilities and sent shockwaves through the US economy. Airlines worldwide are forced to adapt while Airbus and Comac face their own limits. The industry risks fragmentation, as trust and cooperation give way to rivalry. The world's interconnectedness is now a source of fragility. The path forward is unclear. Resolution requires trust that's in short supply. The immediate costs are massive, but the long-term risk is a fundamental reshaping of global trade. As nations prioritize politics over efficiency, stability is no longer guaranteed. The question remains, can global commerce hold together, or is this the start of its great unraveling?